is all about making technology simple, easy, and fun to understand. We're live, back once again for the first time in, gosh, what's probably been about 3 months from now. It was March of 2021, I believe. 4 months ago was when we did the last live broadcast here on Kevin Talks Tech, so it certainly has been a while, might even be longer than that. But so good to see you again. This will actually be something that I do on a little bit more of a regular basis now. I've finally kind of gotten settled in. As you can tell, the background has once again changed here on the Kevin Talks Tech live show, but in a new place here in Minneapolis, and super excited about it. And as you can see, just a nice, fantastic view here over the course of my right shoulder, or left shoulder, I guess, for me anyway. So I'm changing the formatting here a little bit. I've watched a number of YouTube streams, a number of different ways that people do these things and such, and just going to make this even a little bit more casual. So that way it gives people the chance to ask questions, to pop in, to pop out, whichever ways it goes. And I'm just going to pull up the chat here so that way I can see what we're looking at. So stand by for a moment, because I do want to see your questions. Actually, I tell you what, I'm going to pull it up on my laptop, because I did bring my laptop up here this evening. It's a nice night to be outside here. It's probably about 70 degrees here in Minneapolis this evening. Temperatures are, for this time of year, that's great. That's not bad at all. So I'm just going to check the live stream quick and make sure that that we are going. Here's oh my gosh, a terrible test video that I shot. I got to delete that one. But like I said, it's good to be back here live again. Little change in some formatting that I'll mention and talk about a little bit as we go through and we start the live show here shortly. But I hope everybody's been doing good. I hope the summer has been going well. It honestly, to me, feels like it's been going by pretty fast. I woke up today and I was like, oh my gosh, it's August 2nd. But I'm hoping that we'll do more of these shows up here. It's been so long since I've done Kevin Talks Tech that I can't even remember what my password is to get into my account. Well, that's okay. The only thing that I need to do right now is to make sure that this is sounding good. Yep, there we go. All right, perfect. So, like I said, it's good to see everybody here tonight. Welcome again to Kevin Talks Tech Live. Be looking at doing these throughout the course of the week, just to touch base on some tech topics, to see what people want to talk about, to see what questions you have on a little bit more of a regular basis. And I do actually have kind of a stockpile of questions that have come in since I produced the last video. And so I do want to look back at some of those here again and answer some of those questions for you tonight. So bear with me again as I get everything all up and going here for us this evening. All right, let's see. There we go. Now I can see the chat. And like I said, I'm going to attempt to sign in with my account. All right. Let's do this, actually. We'll do this. Should be signed in here shortly, because like I said, there's been a lot of activity on the questions. There we go. Now we're logging in. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of the questions that have been coming in here. Okay, questions. What is everybody curious about? A lot going on in the tech world right now. What are we talking about? What do we want to know about? Let's go to your questions and see what everybody is chatting about here. YouTube Studio as well. All right. Okay, so I'll get those questions up here shortly. But again, I just want to say it's good to see everybody here again for another episode of Kevin Talks Tech. The idea, of course, with this is to just have a nice, candid conversation about what's going on in the world of technology, answer your questions here in real time, and then also, if you're watching on demand after the fact, leave your questions in the comments, and then next time we go live like this, it'll give me a chance to go back and re-answer some of those for you as well. So we're about 5 minutes in right now. What I think we're going to do is we're going to take a short break for a second, and what that's just going to allow me to do is it's going to allow me to pause, and then when I cut the video, we'll just start from there. So stand by for about 5 seconds. Hello, and thanks for joining me online. Welcome to Kevin Talks Tech Live. I am Kevin Hurd. It's so good to see you here again for another live episode this evening here in downtown Minneapolis, Minnesota. The scenery on Kevin Talks Tech, it's ever changing. It's all over the place. And yes, the background has once again changed, as it always seems to do every single year. Just moved into a new place a few months ago. Here downtown Minneapolis, fantastic view on top of the roof, and I thought, what better place to do Kevin Talks Tech Live, the happy hour edition, which, I'm corded in and my juice is all the way over there. I left my drink on the other side of the table. I guess I'll have to get that in a second. Anyway, it's so good to be back up here, and it's so good to be back live again. I really love doing these segments live because it gives the chance for questions to come in real time, and really a lot of the questions that I get come on demand, actually. So people that are not necessarily tuning in live with us right now, but are watching after the fact. And I always do try to answer those, at least was answering them anyway when I was live last time, which was about 4 months ago. So it has been a while since I've seen all of you. Really good to be here again, though. And as I was saying in the beginning, I was doing just kind of a little test run of this. I'm going to try to change the formatting a little bit here and make things just a little bit more casual, and gives us a chance just to have more of a candid conversation about technology. Again, a chance for you to throw the questions in. There's no real set script, no agenda, no rundown, which for me, coming from the television news world, is a little bit of a change. And so bear with me. Sometimes that can be a little bit of a rocky transition when you're used to having a rundown kind of in front of you. But again, it's so good to see you here tonight. Right now, 9:20 here in Minneapolis. Many of you, of course, are ending your night. Some of you are maybe just grabbing dinner if you're on the West Coast, where it's 8:20 right now. So what I want to do is I want to jump in and tackle a few questions that we've gotten in the comments. And we won't do them all tonight because I've been gone and absent now for, oh my gosh, like what, 4 months basically. And there's a lot in here, there's a lot to cover, but there are some recurring themes that we can go back to. And I'm going to apologize just kind of up front here because I am actually doing this from the phone tonight, which is going to make it tough for me. If you've got any, the chat is open for you right now, or if you've just got some thoughts on life too, you can pop them in there also. I like those too. So let's see here. Just kind of weed through some of these. Some of these questions I always really love. Okay, so John Sharp commenting in, this was about a month ago, my DVD player is not newer. My smart TV doesn't have a regular component hookup. Looks like I might be able to buy a cable with a component end for DVD player and HDMI end for smart TV. Have you seen what I'm talking about, and will this work? Yeah, that's a good question. I have not personally seen that type of cable, but in theory that should work, because what you're ultimately doing with the component cable is it has 3 different ends on it, or 3 different kind of connections to it, red, green, and blue. And all of those connections make up video only. The audio is separate. You need a composite cable to be able to bring that audio through when you're dealing with a component cable. And so in theory, what you're saying should work, because you're just basically converting the video signal on the component side and then converting it to HDMI, or converting HDMI over to component. The only thing that I could potentially see as an issue, and let me read your question one more time. Okay. Yeah, so one thing you might run into here actually is you may get the video through on the component side, but an HDMI cable does both video and audio. So you'll be pumping the signal through the TV from the component side to the HDMI side, but you're not going to be getting any sound through the HDMI because the component is only capable of doing video on that end. So you would need another way to be able to get the sound from the DVD player into the back of the TV. And for that, you could do a composite in. And I'm just thinking really quick what that might look like, because you are going from a component side on the DVD player into HDMI on the TV, but the TV is going to be looking for that composite sound through the HDMI signal, and that's not going to be coming through. So actually, here's what you're probably going to want to do. And let me just quickly look that up too and see if there is a component to HDMI cable out there. Okay, there is. Oh, and actually, all right, so actually this could work. This could work. This has already been thought of, which is great. Because yeah, the original concern was how do you get the sound coming out of the DVD player? Excuse me. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to get my juice. How do you get the sound coming out of the DVD player, which is running component? You're going into HDMI, but you need to get that sound out. And that sound is not going to be able to transfer over because it's coming out of the composite end of the DVD player, but that won't go into HDMI. So all that aside, here's what you're going to do. Go on Amazon or go, they probably even sell this at Best Buy. It looks like they sell it at Walmart too. They do have these converters, and they've already taken care of that for you. So you get the component ends on one side, you get the composite ends in the same cord, and then on the other end, you've got the HDMI connection. So because you've got the component and the composite connections on one side of the cable, it's actually like 5 different cables, and it's all wrapped into one. On one end, it's an HDMI connection on one end. That in turn would produce both the video and audio on the analog side and convert it up to the HDMI side. There are also little boxes you can buy too, it looks like, and honestly that might be your best bet, is just to get one of those little converter boxes. You plug everything right into that converter box, your component, your composite cables for video and audio, and then you go out through HDMI. So that might be your best, and a lot of times too that's also powered, which is kind of nice. So that's my suggestion on that one. Let's go to some other questions that are coming in. Okay. Okay, Chris Lawson asks a good question here. We did a video a while ago about connecting a modem to a router setup using a Wi-Fi network. So how do you connect a modem to your router, basically? And he said, what if you don't have a cable output in your house? So that'll be a little bit of, excuse me, that'll be a little bit of an issue actually, because you do need to get that signal out. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to clear my throat. So hold on a second. I can actually keep talking as I'm doing this. I picked up a cold somewhere. I don't know where I got it. I don't think it's COVID. I hope it's not COVID. I'm pretty sure it's not COVID. So yeah, so here's the issue. I mean, you're gonna need to get the internet from somewhere, and I don't know where your internet's coming from right now. If you don't have a cable output in your house, you're probably not getting it through the cable company. So that would lead me to believe that you must have some type of DSL maybe type of solution coming through that's going through a phone line, which if that's possible, there are routers and modems out there that will be able to do that kind of connection. So you probably have a modem of some sort that's coming through the DSL company to be able to process that signal. So in that case then, what you do is that modem should have like an Ethernet out on it. And that should enable you to be able to connect that modem right into the router. So that shouldn't be an issue. That's if you have DSL or something running through your phone line. The only other thing I could think of maybe is if you have satellite internet of some kind, which is possible. And I personally actually don't have a lot of experience with satellite internet. I think that you have a receiver of some kind if memory serves me correctly. And I would imagine in today's day and age that there would be a way to connect that satellite modem into the router. And I shouldn't even call it a modem, really. It'd probably be more of a satellite internet receiver would probably be the right word for it. Okay, yeah, so here's what I'm looking at right now from these are actually more RV type solutions. There should be some type of receiver ultimately that's pulling in the satellite internet, and some people even have that right on their house. And some people, I think, also will have the satellite dish pulling in the internet, but then that's cabled through the house and then running into the connections in the wall, the coax connections. So there's a lot of different ways. Ultimately, I think we just need to know how you're getting your internet right now, and then once we figure that out, then it's a matter of what your best solution is to get it hooked up to the router. Okay, a few other questions. Getting a lot of thank yous in here for these videos. Thank you for that. It's always, it's cool to know when you make these videos, because a lot of times you're just sitting in a room in my apartment or sitting somewhere, and it's kind of cool to see like all the people that these videos have been able to help. So that's great. I love to see that, and thank you for dropping those thoughts in here for me. It also helps me to know what type of content I should be producing too. What's kind of sticking with you, what's interesting. Okay. Okay, here's an interesting question. This one comes from screen name AEPTACON. Apticon is maybe how you say it. So Apticon says, okay, so my sister had some repair people go in my room, and I didn't notice that 2 of my old laptops are missing until I went to throw away the boxes many months after. Recently, a year later, my credit card had unauthorized charges on it. I can only gather that's how they got a hold of my credit card. Aside from that, am I in danger with identity theft? I had factory reset them both and delayed disposing of them. I put them back in their respective boxes, not thinking they would steal it, but in fact they did. Ooh, that's never good whenever you have stolen equipment out there. So it's kind of a tough one. It's really good that you did the factory reset. I think it kind of depends a little bit on the type of factory reset that you did, what kind of operating system or version of the operating system you were running. Because a lot of times when you do like a restore of Windows, Windows will sometimes, and if you prompt it to, like make a backup copy of your data and store it in like a different drive kind of essentially, or a different folder. I've had that in the past too, where I've wanted to reformat my computer and start over Windows, and so it would take all that old data and put it into a folder. So the computer would look brand new, it'd look like it was reset, but somewhere in the C drive or whatever drive I've got that data holding, there was a folder, and that was all the old files from the previous version of the computer. Now, if you had something like that on the hard drive, and if you happen to have any files in there that would have contained your credit card number or any sensitive data, then yeah, it's entirely possible that that could be information that was taken from that. When it comes to pulling the data from, say, internet files, temporary internet files and stuff, it seems to me like that's probably a little bit less likely. I think a lot of that does get wiped out, and that type of data typically doesn't move over to like a copy of the backup data that comes from Windows. That's not to say that it may not have, but that's possible. If I had to peg my money on it, I would probably say that this is just my opinion again here too, but I'd probably say that it didn't come from that. I would say that more than likely it's kind of a lot of steps that somebody has to take, and especially if you wiped it out. So you think they stole the hard drive, and let me go back in here really quick. Okay, so yeah, so they took 2 old laptops out there. So step 1, of course, is they have to take the laptops, then they have to either they have to boot up the laptops and everything, which isn't too hard to do. You mentioned that you wiped them out, which does help, but they can access the data. I'm assuming they took your power cords with you. So yeah, I mean, there's some variables in there. There's some steps, and they're not hard steps to do. But I don't know. It seems to me like if it's been that long, about a year later, it says, according to your comment, that's when you noticed the unauthorized charge. I would think that you would have probably noticed it sooner. And they probably, perhaps maybe even pawned the laptops. Maybe the laptops got sold in a pawn shop. That's possible. Maybe they didn't open the laptop to a year later, but it seems like they would have probably accessed your data a little sooner and, went after your credit card sooner. So I can't say for sure. I'll tell you from a technical standpoint, it is possible, but to me, it seems a little bit unlikely. That said, of course, and I'm not an identity theft expert, but I think you want to go through that standard process, of course, of talking with your credit card issuer, explaining what the situation is, and they're probably a little bit more versed on that topic and the action that you should take. Okay, let's see. So we had a video quite some time ago hooking up a DVD player with HDMI, RCA, or component cables. Marcy commented in and said, so if you have the HDMI cable, that's all you need. You don't need to hook up RCA cables at all. Are there different sizes of HDMI for input versus output? Because I have an HDMI cable that has a connector on one side larger than the connector on the other side. The smaller side of the cable doesn't seem to fit into the HDMI slot on my DVD player. Yeah, so there are actually different sizes of HDMI. There isn't really a lot of practicality to it. For a time, and I know I have an old laptop that did this, there was kind of a mini HDMI connection that you would find sometimes. And in fact, let me see if there's any laptops really out there that still utilize this. I haven't seen it around there for quite a while. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, it does exist in some fashion out there. It's a mini HDMI cable, so yes, on one end, the connection is quite small. Probably looks similar to like a micro USB type connection, maybe a little bit bigger. And then you have the regular HDMI on the other side. Really nice for slimmer devices like a laptop where it's just a little bit harder sometimes to get a bigger HDMI connection in there, especially for the really slim laptops. So that's kind of what this is used for. But no, that unfortunately is not going to work in your DVD player since the size of the connection is obviously too small. So you'll want to look at a different option, a different cable for that. But those kind of connections do exist, and there is, yes, a mini HDMI cable out there that you can buy. And if you've got a really nice slim device, they work pretty well. I think now anyway, we're probably seeing more of that being replaced by USB-C. And USB-C is a type of USB connection that's faster, it's got more capabilities to it. With HDMI, you're just talking about video, but HDMI can power the laptop, it can do video, it can, you can plug in other devices through USB-C, keyboards, mice, whatever it might be. A lot of times you can actually even buy kind of a longer strip where you can plug in multiple devices and then just have one connection going into the USB-C. So it's become a little bit more common on those laptops. So I personally haven't seen HDMI, mini HDMI for quite some time, but it looks like it is still out there. Okay, let's see what else we have here today. Okay, Sue Dickerson writing in a few months ago. I had a show where I did live answers to your questions, much like I'm doing right now. And Sue said to me, "Hello, Kevin. I have watched a few of your videos. I have a Vizio TV with HDMI, but my Sony DVD VCR combo doesn't. How can I get this to work? And thank you in advance." So that's a good question, and actually goes back to something that we were talking about just a little bit ago. We were talking about converting HDMI with the component connection and converting that also with composite for audio. So I think that's what you're going to want to do here, actually. Your DVD VCR combo, depending on how old it is, I'm guessing it probably just has composite on it. But if it's a newer DVD VCR combo, you might have component out on it too. And so if that's the case, what I would recommend doing is buying, like I was just talking about earlier in this live video, is buying a converter type box. So on one end, you're going to have inputs in that box for composite and component connections. Component is going to be that red, green, and blue connections. Composite's going to be the yellow and the white. And you're going to go out from the DVD VCR with cables from those colors, out from VCR DVD into that box. And then on the output side of the box, there's going to be an HDMI connection. You're going to run that into your TV. And because TVs with HDMI capabilities, HDMI does both video and audio, it's going to take that sound and that video that's being pumped in through composite and component cables from the DVD VCR combo. It's going to remix it and send it back out through HDMI as one video and audio stream into the back of your TV. So I would look at doing that. I think that's your best bet. One thing to keep in mind is that you aren't going to be able to upconvert that signal. Well, kind of depends a little bit too in terms of what your DVD VCR combo is putting out. So component looks quite nice, quite comparable with HDMI, the video signal anyway. So if you've got component, definitely use component. But if you've got composite only, which is going to be that yellow, white, and red connections on the back, yellow and white again, or I'm sorry, red and white again are for audio. Video is yellow, and that's composite, so it's analog. You can run that and do the conversion that way, but the thing you're going to probably run into is that it's going to look pretty bad on the TV because you're going from a really old 360p type of connection into an HDMI signal, which a TV is displaying a 720p connection, a 1080p, 1080i connection. The resolution is just a lot higher. So that'd be the only thing. But if you're just looking to get that video across, that's the best way to do it, is to get one of those converters to do that. And you can find those on Amazon. Just look up a component to HDMI converter is what you'll want to go for. Or composite to HDMI converter would also work. Okay, similar question, Lucy Doris Walker. I have an older TV that does not have an HDMI port. My DVD player has an HDMI port. I purchased an adapter with a VGA port to fit in my TV. The other end has the HDMI to connect to my DVD player. Got the picture, but no sound. Then I purchased an adapter with HDMI and for DVD and VGA into TV that was supposed to have sound. The TV doesn't even recognize this one. I am stumped. Yes, that is a good question, and a lot of different connections that you're working with there. Okay, so let's we'll backtrack a little bit. So you've got an older TV, and on the TV that does not have an HDMI port. On the DVD player that does have an HDMI port. Usually it's the other way around, so that's kind of interesting. Okay, so then you got the VGA port to fit into your TV. The other end is HDMI to connect to the DVD player. And yes, you're not going to get any sound with that because HDMI does do video and audio, but VGA is a video only type of connection. So no sound is pumped through VGA. So that's why that's happening. Then you purchased an adapter with HDMI end for DVD and VGA into TV, and that was supposed to have sound. The TV did not even recognize this one, and I am stumped. Okay. And VGA into TV, that's supposed to have sound. So an adapter, I guess it depends what kind of adapter you are getting. Because at the end of the day, I guess if you're pumping, you could have a little adapter that you're running DVD out or HDMI out from the DVD player into the adapter, and then VGA back into the TV. And you can pass that through the adapter, but at the end of the day, if your only connection going into the TV from that adapter is VGA, it won't work. There won't be any sound because VGA just doesn't support sound. So that won't work. And I'm interested to see too, it's just such an odd connection. Usually you don't go backwards from HDMI to VGA. Let me just see out there real quick. Okay, so they do sell it. I see, they do sell it, where you can go HDMI to VGA, so it can happen. But yeah, no matter what kind of box you're using, if you're using an HDMI cable and a VGA cable between those boxes, that won't work to pump the sound through. More than likely, that cord is actually probably made more for computers. For those perhaps that have a older computer monitor but have a newer computer with a HDMI out on it, and they're running it into an older monitor that just has VGA. I'm not sure why you do that, but there might be somebody that is. So what you need to do is you need to be able to get that sound out of the DVD player and into the TV. So what I would actually recommend doing in this case, well, what you'd need some kind of box that also has that can convert that HDMI sound into what I think your best bet would be a headphone size 3.5mm connection. And then from there, you'd run that. I think the best way to do it, well, no, I don't know if that would work either. I don't want to say you stumped me on this one, but this one is a little bit more of a challenge. So, if your DVD player is HDMI, then I'm guessing that you probably also have VGA as an option for you. And so what I would do actually is I would bypass your TV speakers, because if you are using VGA, your TV probably doesn't have an input to support sound, because a lot of times, if you're using that for a computer, then the sound is coming through another method with the computer. You're usually not going that route. But check your TV, because some TVs do have this. If you have VGA, you might have a small 3.5mm type of jack right next to that HDMI connection. And if that's the case, that's going to be your sound in. And so then what I would actually do is, in your DVD player should have this, rather than using the HDMI, use a component cable that is running that you would run from the component out of the DVD player and convert that to VGA. Run that into the VGA of your TV, and then you'll want to convert the composite connection that sits right next to the component connection to indicate audio for the component connection. They'll be red and white. And what you'll want to do is you'll want to run that out to a secondary type of audio source that you can listen to. I'm thinking like a speaker or something like that. Not running into the TV, but running into like a speaker of some kind. So you've got component running from the DVD VCR, and you've got an adapter or some kind of cable. Maybe the cable actually has component on one end, VGA on the other. And that's running into the TV, or there's something in the middle that will convert it. So that's going to do your video. And then on the white and red ports, right next to the green, blue, and white ones. Is it green, blue, and white? I'm kind of blanking on this one again now. It's been kind of a long day. Hang on a second. We'll find out. I gotta look it up. I forgot my colors. Okay, red, blue, green. Okay, so let me start over for you. All right, so DVD, what you're going to be doing is you're going to go component out, which is going to be a red, green, and blue connection. That's going to be video. That is going to pass through an adapter that you're going to buy, and that is going to connect to the adapter. And then on the other side of the adapter, you're going to have VGA, and then you're going to run that into your TV. So that's one way that you can do that for video. And then on the other side of things, you need to get that audio out. So you're going to run a red and white cable from the red and white connections. They're right next to the composite connections. It should say audio. And you're going to run that to an external source. And you'll need an adapter for this too, or some kind of cable. What I would recommend doing is getting a cable that has composite red and white connections on one end, and then on the other end it's a 3.5mm headphone size jack. You'll plug that jack into a secondary source, such as a speaker, and that's going to pump the audio out for you to be able to listen. With that kind of setup, that's probably the only way you could do it that I think would work. But honestly, if you're, part of me is thinking if you're using a VGA connection on a TV though, like that's pretty uncommon. I'm wondering maybe if you have a monitor for your TV, like that's totally possible too. I mean, are you using a monitor for your TV? If you are, I mean, that'll work, but you don't have the capabilities of like a remote control really or anything like that unless your monitor came with one. I would keep it even a little bit more simple, because then you got the capabilities of remote control. You've got the capabilities of a real TV with channel changing, all that kind of stuff. Just getting a regular TV to do it. If you do have a regular TV and in the off chance you just have VGA, look and see if you've got composite or component connections on the back of that TV. VGA is probably the last type of connection I would use. It looks ugly. It's not really made for video watching or anything like that, like through a DVD player. So I would consider looking at other ports if you have any other on the back of your TV, a composite or component connections. But if VGA is the only one you have, that'd be the route you'd go. All right, what time are we at here? We're at 9:49, coming up here on the top of the hour. Well, I think what we're going to do is we're going to cut there for today because it has been a good Kevin Talks Tech session. I've appreciated all the great comments that we've gotten, and I hope that we'll see you back here again for another episode in the near future. It's been fun. It's been great to be here again and to have this spectacular view behind us as we do these. I got to figure out what time we're going to do them though. I don't know if we should stick to the usual time we were doing before, which was 10 o'clock Central Time. Part of me feels like that might be getting a little bit too late for our East Coast friends, but they stay up late. The news is on 11 o'clock on the East Coast, so I don't know. For you folks in the West Coast, that'd be 8 o'clock, so that wouldn't be necessarily too late either. Probably your mid part of the evening. So I'll figure it out. We'll get back to you. We'll let you know when we're doing these again. Either way, though, it's great to see everybody here today. Thanks so much for joining me online, and we'll see you back here again next time.